Greetings to all lovers of myths and legends. In ancient times, when the earth still remembered the whispers of the first stars and rivers sparkled under the light of the moon, there lived one of the most beautiful singers, whose name still sounds magical and mysterious to this day, Orpheus. According to legend, he was the son of Apollo, the god of the sun, music, and prophecy, and Calliope, the muse of epic poetry. Orpheus possessed an extraordinary talent, with the ability not only to sing beautifully but also to play the lyre in a way that was nothing short of magical. Orpheus was gifted with the power to enchant and calm all living things. His music was like the sound of the wind passing through an ancient forest, and his melodies were like sparks of sunlight on the surface of water. One day, Orpheus was wandering through the forests of Thessaly, where the sounds of nature blended with his music, creating a magical orchestra. Eurydice, a gentle nymph who lived in those same forests, was walking through the woods. She was like a flower blooming at the dawn of spring. Her eyes were like two lakes full of deep mysteries, and her laughter was like the sound of a stream running through a valley. She heard the divine music coming from afar. The sounds were so captivating that they seemed to draw her in, mesmerizing her heart. As she approached, she saw Orpheus sitting under the shade of a great oak tree, his fingers skillfully dancing across the strings of his lyre, and his voice enveloping the forests and meadows with invisible magic. Eurydice, as if spellbound, drew closer, and her presence did not go unnoticed. Orpheus paused and looked at her, and in that moment, their eyes met. It was like two stars meeting in the heavens, sparks in a misty glow. Their love was like a diamond shining in the stillness of the night, but fate, like a cunning sorceress, had a trial in store for them. One day, while walking through the meadows, Eurydice encountered Aristeus, the son of Apollo. He desired her, but as she resisted, she ran away. In her haste, she didn't notice a snake in the grass and stepped on it. The snake's bite was fatal, and Eurydice fell to the ground, dying suddenly. Her soul descended to the underworld ruled by Hades. Unable to accept her loss, Orpheus embarked on a journey to the realm of shadows to bring back his beloved. The first challenge on his path to the world of the dead was Cerberus. This three-headed dog, with eyes that burned like embers in a fire, guarded the entrance to this world. His body was covered in black fur like that of a wolf, and his tail was a snake. He was a living reminder that there was no return. In his presence, even the bravest souls trembled with fear. Cerberus's primary duty was to prevent the souls of the dead from returning to the world of the living and to keep living beings from entering the underworld without permission. But Orpheus's determination was unbreakable. Armed with his lyre, he lulled the mighty beast to sleep as if singing a lullaby. Thus, bypassing the guardian of darkness, he descended into the underworld, cloaked in the night. His music guided him through the labyrinths filled with darkness and fear. And in this realm where even death held its breath, his songs were like fireflies in the night. A thick fog, black as night, thickened and descended, shrouding everything in an unseen, boundless veil. At the very center of this mysterious kingdom flowed the river Styx, its black waters winding like a serpent's tail, creating a barrier between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. The surface of the river was calm and smooth, like a mirror. Charon, the grim ferryman with a gaunt face, rowed souls on their final journey. The underworld was divided into several regions, each with its own kingdom of ghosts and inhabitants. At the heart of the realm was Elysium, a place for the righteous and heroes. Here, the darkness easily gave way to a pale light. The snow-like flakes in this valley were like memories of the good that had been in life, softening the darkness and creating a sense of peace. On the other hand, there was Tartarus, a subterranean labyrinth where the darkness was dense and unbearable. There was neither shadow nor light, only eternal suffering and torment. The souls trapped here were condemned to endless torture, from which even the darkest corners of the underworld recoiled in horror. In the fields of asphodel, a gloomy indifference reigned. Here, the souls who had lived without notable virtues or vices found their place. They wandered the endless plains, immersed in endless silence, feeling neither joy nor pain, as if they had become part of the eternal fog themselves. At the head of this realm was Hades, the infamous child swallowed by his father Cronus and later saved by his brother Zeus. After the overthrow of Cronus, all inheritance was supposed to pass to Hades. However, circumstances required consideration for his brothers, and they drew lots. By the will of fate, Zeus received the sky, Poseidon the sea, and Hades the underworld. Did Hades want this? Of course not. But he accepted his fate with dignity. Alongside Hades ruled his wife, the beautiful Persephone. But she did not enter the underworld by her own will. Once, Persephone, the daughter of the goddess of fertility Demeter and Hades' brother Zeus, was wandering among blooming meadows, rejoicing in life. Her cheerful laughter filled the air, illuminating everything around with joy and life. But this day was unlike any other. Time seemed to freeze when a crack erupted from the earth, widening as if the very ground was opening its arms. From this chasm emerged a dark and ominous figure, Hades, the god of the underworld. Hades was captivated by Persephone's beauty. His heart, encased in eternal cold, suddenly began to thaw. Hades traveled to Olympus and asked Zeus for permission to marry Persephone. Zeus found himself in a difficult position. If he refused his brother, it would be an insult. But if he gave Persephone away, Demeter, who dearly loved her daughter, would never forgive him. As a true ruler, Zeus gave an evasive answer, neither a clear yes nor no. Hades couldn't resist Persephone's grace and purity, and his desire to possess such beauty grew overwhelmingly strong. He made a pact with Gaia, the goddess of the earth, to grow a flower of unparalleled beauty in the meadow where Persephone wandered, something that would catch her eye. When Persephone bent down to pick the flower, a powerful roar and a thunderous sound marked the moment Hades pierced the world of the living, opening a path to the realm of the dead. He seized Persephone and carried her off to the depths of his shadowy kingdom, where darkness and cold reigned. The earth closed up behind them. Demeter, upon realizing her daughter had vanished, fell into deep sorrow and despair. She searched tirelessly for Persephone, but her efforts were in vain. The once lush and green earth began to wither under the weight of her grief, and all of nature fell into gloom and cold. After a long and fruitless search for her daughter, Demeter eventually learned the truth. Furious, she demanded that Hades immediately return her daughter. But he refused. Demeter then sought the help of Zeus, but the underworld was beyond his power. In her anguish, Demeter left Olympus, wandering the earth in the guise of a mortal. As she grieved, so did nature. Crops failed, flowers withered, and people starved. The trees stood barren, and life itself seemed to come to a standstill. Many gods came to Demeter with gifts, pleading for her to return to Olympus and end the suffering of all living things, but the goddess of fertility was steadfast. She demanded only one thing, that Hades return her daughter. Finally, Zeus decided to intervene and asked his brother to return Persephone. Hades, ever faithful to the laws, declared, "I obeyed the law when I sought permission to take your daughter." And the unbreakable law of the underworld states, those who have tasted the food of the dead can never return to the surface. Persephone, lying about not having eaten a single crumb, was initially returned to her mother, but when the truth came out, she was sent back to the darkness. After much negotiation, a compromise was reached. Persephone would spend 1/3 of the year with Hades and the other 2/3 with Demeter. When mother and daughter were separated, the earth grew cold, and winter arrived. Demeter mourned her child and left Olympus, while nature awaited her return. Over time, Persephone came to love Hades. The music of the grieving Orpheus reached Persephone. Having once known the pain of loss herself, she was moved by the depth of Orpheus's suffering and the beauty of his music. In her heart lay wisdom and eternal peace. She took pity on Orpheus and asked Hades to return Eurydice to the world of the living. Hades, though a stern ruler, was also just. He agreed and told Orpheus, "Walk ahead, and Eurydice will follow behind you. But do not look back until you both have reached the light. If you break this condition, you will never see her again." Filled with hope and anticipation, Orpheus led Eurydice towards the exit. They walked for a long time, and all the while, Orpheus felt her gaze and presence behind him. But at the boundary between light and darkness, when they were almost free, fear and doubt gripped his heart. He couldn't resist and look back. In that instant, as their eyes met, Eurydice vanished, dissolving into the darkness. No matter how much he pleaded, Hades would not relent. And so this magical and tragic story ended, leaving behind a trail of sorrow and unforgettable songs. Orpheus remained in the world of the living, carrying an unhealable wound in his heart, but his music continued to play, a reminder of his great love. Love and devotion can overcome the greatest obstacles. Orpheus was willing to journey through the realm of the dead, facing darkness and dangers to bring back his beloved. But despite the power of love, sometimes our inner weaknesses prevail. Orpheus couldn't resist the temptation and broke Hades' command. Therefore, we must always remember that the consequences of our actions can be unforgiving. If you enjoyed this captivating story, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.